Come on. Are we streaming? Oh, we are. All right. It has been quite a while. My computer died, and I lost everything. So, I might be able to get it back, but I haven't gotten it back yet. And there's no point in trying to recreate the game. I have backups, but none of them are of anything even vaguely recent on the game. So I'm just going to post that we're streaming Unreal, streaming learning Unreal. Just going to put that there. And so I always said I was going to switch to Unreal after the diving project, and I'd planned to finish the diving project this year. But it looks like the diving project won't get to be completed because it is gone. My computer ate itself, and I've never quite had a computer eat itself that aggressively before. So I switched over to Unreal, which I haven't used in 5 years, and I wasn't very good at it then. Right now I'm still trying to get the camera figured out. How do I guess you can WSAD around, but it's a little bit slow, and when you hold shift it goes slower. That's strange. I'll figure it out. Anyway, I thought we would start our Unreal journey by creating a very basic game. We're just going to create a mech racing game. Because why not, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to switch from landscape mode back to select mode and just start to delete most of this topology. We don't need it. I'm a little bit unsure about the zones because I haven't really mastered them yet. I know that I'll probably need these zones, but I'm not at all sure. I think I'm going to have to scale some of them up substantially, if not all of them. For now, that's not the scale button. That's a scale button. For now, let's just go ahead and scale this up. Whoa. That should be plenty. Now this is the post-process volume. I'm not really sure. Well, I don't think we have any defined post-processing yet, but there might be some post-processing built into the system by default. This is the default third-person game, because I figure if we're going to make a mech game, it would be better if it was a third-person mech game, for reasons that we'll get into eventually. And I'm not sure about the terrain editor in this in Unreal. I think that it's more specialized in importing height maps rather than letting you paint them. Just for starters, it doesn't actually appear that there is a it doesn't really appear that there is much of a control over the shape of the brush. It seems like you get a round brush and that's what you get. But chances are... there's some stuff. Oh, maybe there is some more stuff here. Chances are there are some tools that I'm not aware of. Like this. I'm not sure what this does. Add ramp. Oh, okay. Erosion. Let's erode. Woohoo! Interesting. Looks like erosion does some basic edge simulation. That's kind of a fun trick. It definitely makes these random bumps feel a lot more natural. Not a huge fan of why... Oh, I have to hold the right-click button when I'm using WSAD to move around. That's a little strange. But as I was saying, I had intended to switch to Unreal as soon as the project was done, and the project is now finito in that it is dead. So finishing it, there's not really any point in delaying the process of moving over to a different engine. But that does mean that you won't be seeing any expert level streams. If you could laughably claim I was an expert, I was pretty comfortable with Unity, and I knew how to do a lot of things very quickly. That is not true of Unreal. So for the foreseeable future, you're going to be watching me struggle to learn in much the same way that anyone would. And that can be educational as well, but it's worth noting that if you are the sort that gets very annoyed by someone using a system and not being a pro, well, I'm afraid to tell you, you're probably going to be annoyed. This is probably something I don't need. I don't think it's going to do anything unless I set it up to do something. It doesn't really matter at this point. Select, copy, circle. Oh, so I can actually change the brush to an alpha brush. Okay. So I'm glad to know I was just plain wrong. And it does support plenty of more complex setups. I don't know if we've got any here. Yeah, so it does have an effect. So that's cute. We'll figure that out in the long run. We won't need it for now. Let's just hit play. So the lighting is completely borked because I haven't rebuilt it yet. And we're using the default character model here in Unreal, which is a beefy guy with a case of scoliosis. So our mech is going to be more similar to this guy than not, so I figured why not start with the default. He's pretty generally close to what we would make our mechs be. Now, the idea of a mech racing game is not terribly new, but what I plan to do is the gameplay will be about managing your balance. So in most mech games, you'd have like a heat problem. Well, in this mech game, you're going to have a balance problem. So if you run up slopes or corner quickly, then your balance meter will drop. And if it goes down to 0, you'll fall over. And that'll be quite a bit of time to get back up on your feet, and you'll probably lose the match. So the idea here is that it'll be a pretty simple game, and it's just going to be a straightforward racing game. There's going to be some roads and some rougher terrain. And I just wanted to make sure that Unreal had an easy terrain system, and it does. So hooray. I thought it would. I just wanted to make sure of it. So there's nothing special about this terrain I've built. It's just arbitrary. Not too worried about it at the moment. So if we wanted to start to build a racing game, here's the problem. I don't actually know anything about best practices. The Roland says, oh shit, we doing this. Why did the chat window... Oh, because it's a new computer and all of this stuff is... let me just move the chat over to the side of the screen where I can actually see it. Won't that be nice? Come on. Come on. Come on. There you are. And I don't need your quick actions. You're pretty much worthless. I never do anything quick, as everybody knows. So we'll put you over there. It doesn't look like we can get rid of you. All we can do is make you more obvious. All right. So I don't actually know best practices for developing in Unreal. For example, if we're making a racing game, I'm not 100% sure about things like how to create a HUD and stuff like that. But I'm presuming that I'll be able to find those things out pretty easily, which is why I thought this would be a good place to start. I think what we're going to want to do first is create some road segments in Blender, because why not? So let's switch from mode editing back to select, just because this is where I'm comfortable. And we're going to go and open up a new Blender file and create some roads. So I'm going to send you back over to Phoenix Wright for a second here while I get Blender running. Now I have a plugin. Oh, I'm really slouched. I bet that everybody could hear every single noise my various internals were making as I was talking. It's what you get when you put your neck up, you put your mic up against the neck. Anyway, I have a new, hold on, is this going to let me, of course it can't let me import from the old version of Blender. That's on a different machine, and the hard drive is borked. So what we need to do is, the reason I haven't brought you back is because I've got to import a Blender plugin. I just have to remember how to do that. It's under... I should be under like options. Is that under preferences, add-ons, install, Blender for Unreal Engine. I should have installed it, but it didn't highlight it. Unreal. Okay, so it didn't actually install it? Give me a second here, because I'm not going to be able to do jack shit without that. All of my testing involved that. So we're going to extract that into a new directory and make sure that I thought you could install it as a zip, but maybe there's like 2 versions of it. So we'll go into here. I mean, there's like a lot of Python files, presumably. I thought I knew what I was doing. Clearly I do not. But I feel real stupid not being able to install a plugin. I mean, this hasn't changed from computer to computer, but I installed it. I think I installed it using a different version of it last time. And clearly this version is a little bit different. Installation. Download the add-on. Well, I mean, I guess we can just try to download the add-on again, but I thought that that was what we had. Install from file and install the zip. So I think the problem here is that the zip I grabbed had both installations in it, and I'm only supposed to have one. Blender 2.8 being a sizable change, and I think what happened is I got the one that has both. There it is. All right, so now I can bring it back. There we are. Here's our import-export Blender for Unreal, and we'll go ahead and save that. Save preferences. There are a couple of others that I want to turn on. I can't remember what they are, though. I think there's one for... Oh, gosh, I can't even remember the other add-ons. There are some default add-ons that should be turned on and aren't. But that's fine. This is the only one we actually care about, and it should be right over here. Yeah. So that'll help us to export these roads that we're making. Now let me see if I can track down the Stream tab. There we are. So when we're making roads, we got a couple of basic problems. The biggest problem is that roads aren't just flat, straight pieces. If we wanted to create roads that have curves to them and that sort of jazz, we have 2 options. We can either create lots of different road types, or we can create a road that has morphs of some kind. Now, that would mean it would be a skeletal mesh rather than just a flat mesh, so most people don't do that. We can also take a third option, and that is to create roads that are intended to break. Now, what that means is it's a kind of a fallout approach. Your road meshes don't connect to each other very often. Instead, they turn into rubble at the ends. That would make sense for a mech game, don't you think? So let's go ahead and assume that that's what we're going to do. Let's create some roads. Now, I just deleted a cube and added a cube right back in because I'm super clever like that. Now, you might be wondering, what sort of vertical size should we go for these roads? How far across should these roads be below, so on and so forth? Most of the roads are going to be underground. So what we need to do is determine how much of the road is going to be above ground. And 1 meter is a lot. So we're going to take that down to 0.25 meters. That's going to be a little bit more manageable for us. Now, we can always move it later on just by raising it up or lowering it down. But in our case, dropping it into the game world is something where we're going to want to have it drop into what would vaguely be a good position for a road rather than having to adjust it every single time. Similarly, we want to expand the road on the x-axis. We'll make it, that looks like 10 meters wide. That is a hell of a wide road. Let's just take a quick little look. Highway width. The United States highway is a lane width of 12 feet or 3.7 meters. So a 10-meter road would be a 2-lane highway with shoulders or a central system. If we wanted to think of it another way, it might be worthwhile to create I'm thinking about how to do this in a way that would combine easily here in Blender. And one way it could combine easily here in Blender is if we created a lane. But I think we'll just go ahead and wing it with the roads. Anyway, if we say that that is more or less a fine road width, we can simply scale this up to be as long as we want. So there we are, a 20-meter long road segment. Right now, the material doesn't exist. One of the nice things that I can see from this export system that we've got over here, this seems to keep the materials kind of intact-ish, which is always nice. So we're going to go ahead and create ourselves a material. That's not where we do it. That's where we do it. Hello, road. Yes, that's how you spell road. Road. Now we're going to go ahead and give it, obviously, a darker color. Now we could use some nodes. I don't know whether or not the nodes are going to end up transferring over into Unreal. I guess it's probably worth trying, though. So if we take a look at the node editor here, we should be able to tell it to use some dotted lines and some straight lines in places where we think they would do the most good. Not really sure what's going on with this. Huh, that's kind of strange. Well, let's see if we can create those nodes. Add node. Texture, brick texture, checker texture, gradient texture, image texture, noise texture. We could probably do it with a checker texture. This might be easier to do with just an image. Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and just make an image of it instead. So let me send you back to PhoenixWright for a minute or two while I make sure that everything's set up in the way that I want it to be. I already have the image processor open, but I'm not at all sure that it's going to the right spot. I don't want that. Yeah, so this is just fine. We'll bring you back. Screen. And what we're going to do is change the image resolution, because it was just kind of a random resolution. I'm going to want that to be maybe 1024 by 1024 or something similar. It doesn't look like it's giving me the option to change the scale here, so we're going to just go again here. And what we're going to want is to simply have, that's not it, there it is. Simply have a darker color, and then on top of that darker color, we're going to put some dotted elements. So we should have a dotted line brush. Yeah, here's one. So we'll just take that and we'll make it white. And we'll just, ooh, not quite right. Let's try that again. First off, it's too small. Second off, it wasn't even vaguely straight. So we'll just... and then we'll want one that is just a straight old line down the middle, like this. Boop. And we'll go ahead and save that. I'm sorry, I'm still not used to this machine, so I keep switching you over. Road. And once we've saved it, we should be able to import it into Blender. Let's unuse nodes here. Base color, import, image, open. Yeah, that's not even close to being in the right place. Why are you in a random spot? This is one thing I've never understood about Blender. It's like a lot of their... Every time you save something, it'll remember where you saved something before, but it will only remember for the exact tiny subset of thing. So even though it's saving the blend file into the correct location, it's not importing images from the correct location. So, not the most brilliant setup in the world, but we'll go ahead and work with it for a little while here. I'll call this roads. And we'll bring you back. There we are. So I've imported the image file, and you can see that it exists. See? So you might be wondering why it's kind of off on the side like that, and that would be because the UV map is all screwed up. Let's go ahead and take a look here. UV editor. So we got a nice square UV editor, so why is it... Oh, that's why. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and just extrapolate this top UV unwrap. And then over here we can scale X to... Nope, we're not going to want to do it that way. We're going to just GX 0.5. There we go. And now for the rest of these, they're pretty much fine like that. We'll just move them down here. The only thing is we want them to have a texture, which I forgot to do. So back here, we're just going to put in a little bit of ground texture as another layer. We'll mark it as a multiply layer and just do a little bit of tone spraying here and there. So if we increase the brush size, we can just go... And then we might be doing a little bit of this. That one's a little bit too noticeable. I guess I need to do it in a new layer. We'll just duplicate this one. Delete. There we are. Just trying to create a little bit of noise. There, that'll do for now. Just save that. Back here into Blender, we'll need to re-import this. How do you re-import? I know there is a way to re-import, but I don't know how. Blender, god damn it. You'd think that they would have solved these basic user issues by now. New image, open image. So here I'm given the option to either open the image or open the image. Unlink. I mean... guess we'll just... Yeah, that's re-imported it. I can tell by the chop on the surface. Alright, so putting that aside, we're going to want to change some of these other values just because they're a little bit too obvious. We don't have a wet road. We don't want it to be wet here. There we are. And we can work on the exact values of this later. One of the other tricks we can do is we can put a cut right down the middle like this. And then when we go into the UV editor, we can move this bad boy over there and this bad boy over here. Oh, that's too far. There. And there we go. That's backwards. That's fine. We'll just select the whole thing and rotate it 180. There we are. Now, obviously, this is all just a quick little mock-up, but I wanted to just get things working as fast as possible here. Now, roads have a couple of values that are they're set up in a specific set of ways. And one of the things that you have to consider is whether or not the road has shoulders and what kind of shoulders the road has. So most of the time you'll find that indie devs leave their roads like this, and I find that to be really unrealistic. I don't want our roads to have curbs because I think that the curbs will end up causing physics problems. But what we can do is we can simply have them be wide like this. In fact, we don't even need to do that. We can just widen them from here. And if we have a wide road like this, then it will soften the exact feel of what happens when the road falls, down. And now if we do this and then raise it, we can get a real soft edge. Yeah, like that. The only question is, it looks like we have a problem where it is, all my quick favorites are gone. Of course they are. This time I don't even blame you because this is a completely different machine. We want to soften all of these, shade smooth all of these faces. Face, shade smooth, add to quick favorites, shade smooth. And then we come down here and go to the normals. Can I add this to my favorites? Yeah, I can. Cool. Auto smooth. There. So that'll allow it to kind of automatically detect where it should be crisp. And you might be thinking you don't need it to be crisp anywhere, but these edges actually do need to be crisp, or else the road would feel like it was falling off every time you hit the edge. So let's go ahead and just quickly name it and put it into Unreal and see whether or not, how terribly it sucks. Road S1. And we'll just go to Unreal Engine here, flag it for export, come down here to the export button. I'm not actually sure what it's going to do here. I'm going to switch it back over to Phoenix Wright while I see what's going on here. Oh, it just did it. That's fine. I thought it was going to pop up a dialogue, but it just went and did it. So here we are back in Unreal. Import. Import all. Okay, so the FBX here is fine. The only problem I've got is our, here we are. This is it. The only problem I've got is our defaults for the collision, which I need to change, and I don't know where to change them. Project settings. Collision. That's not it. I just want to make it so that it defaults to complex as simple. But I don't know how to do that. Oh well, I guess we'll do it manually for now. Anyway, we can just drag the road into the world, and there you can see it pops in straight away. And you can see what I was talking about with the top of the road. I didn't want the top of the road to be way, way above the ground. So if we zoom in over here, we have a problem, and that is that there is no collision data for this road. So if we pop this up, what we can do is we can come down here to the project default shape complexity. I want to set this to be use complex as simple, because I don't want to have to worry about custom colliders for roads, and it's going to be like 90% roads and shit, so we should just be able to set that. What was it called? Why wouldn't it be under collision? Oh well, it's not that important. We'll figure it out later. Anyway, now that we've set that as complex as simple, go away, we should be able to walk on the road. I've forgotten where I put it. There it is. I just leap. Boom. And our feet don't fall through it. Congratulations. And you might be thinking that this road feels pretty big. It It actually feels like it's built for slightly smaller cars. Oh, for fuck's sake. It looks like Steam is still open, and for some reason it has decided to do all sorts of dumb shit in the background. So I know I closed Steam. Let me close Steam again. Steam keeps logging me in automatically, so I would like it to die. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, this is actually a small road. It's got a much narrower scale than you might expect. Let's go ahead and create a block out of a car just so that we don't lose track of what sort of visuals we're thinking about here. So we're going to look up car size, and we're going to just quickly create something that is precisely the size of a car. All right, so we've got some cars here. We'll just mock something up using a cube. Boom, there's a car. Let's move this road off to the side for a little bit. There we go. So according to this, it is 1.52 meters. The convertible is 1.52 meters tall, or is that wide? I think it's tall. And then it would be 15. This is wrong. Oh, that's for putting it in a box. Why would I want to know how big a box it is? Here we are. Toyota Corolla. This should have some measurements. All right. So it's fucking no. So Toyota Corolla, since it's the first response, it's 2.7 meters long. So if we take a look at it from this side, currently we're at 2 meters. So if we scale everything down, let's just bring it down towards the 3D cursor. If we scale it down by 0.5, we'll be able to scale it up on any given axis by that precise amount. So it's 2.7 on the y-axis. No, that's between the two car wheels. The whole thing is 4.6. Scale y 4.65. The height is 1.45. And the width is 1.78. There we are. So this is the size of a car. Let's just go ahead and quickly do some things to make it look just a little bit more like a car, because right now it is just not actually noticeable that it's supposed to be a car. We're not making a car. We're just making a car mock-up. But I'd still like to not be confused about what it is when I look at it. So I guess if it's going to be a Corolla, these things are really, really smooth. So we're going to go ahead and just do the smoothness here. And they also have rounded edges. It's an extremely gentle car in terms of the shape it is. And the top of the car is thin. Let's do there we are. Like that. And that is a Toyota Corolla, as everyone can tell. We might as well add two little wheels, I suppose. So here's our cylinder. Rotate X. Nope. Rotate Y 90. Scale that down. So we want the wheels to be in line with 0. There we go. And duplicate this and move it back. Now, according to this, it comes to 1.45 off the ground, not 1.45 above the wheels. So when we grab the undercarriage here, we need to move just the undercarriage up. There we are. And that means that our hood here is just a little bit too aggressive, so bring it up. And it's not quite the right size positioning, rather. Just yeah. And this is just way too extreme. That's really what's throwing me off. I want to try and do this without the part where I suck at it for a long time. There we are. Now we've got a Toyota Corolla. How exciting, right? The wheels are a little small, but who cares? So we're going to just go ahead and name it Car Toyota Corolla. Just because those are the dimensions we used. And we'll go ahead and export that too. Pop over into Unreal. Now this is going to be a garbage car. But that's the whole point. So there it is. The Corolla. Let's go ahead and add a collider to it. Adding a... Can you not keep... Yeah, thanks. Now go away. Exit. Oh, God, it opened up something entirely different to give me a tutorial on this. So we come over here, switch over to complex as simple. That's something we're definitely going to want to change in the final game, though, because this is not a road. It's a car, and the car is quite complex. Let's see if we can find a red material for it. I don't like the way that it looks like concrete. Where is the material set for this? Here it is. That's a physical material. There it is. World grid material. I don't think we want a world grid material. Clay, stone, concrete, fire, grass, lamp. There we are. Now it's definitely a car. Vroom vroom. It's sinking into the concrete a little bit because the concrete isn't at 0. It's a little bit above 0. Still, this is a small-sized car, and you can see that the lane is not unreasonable. The lane seems about the right width. It might be, if it's a little bit narrow, it's just because these are a little bit too close together, or a little bit too far apart, rather, and they should be much closer together. So if we wanted to fix that up, we can do it either over here. Yeah, I think it'd be easiest to do it in here. We'll just grab this line and move it to the right. There it is. Oh, don't do that. Do this there. Boom. Can you... Thank you. Oh, it got blurry. Defruck? Oh, there we are. So for some reason... Oh, it's set to loop rather than... that's fine. We'll fix it over here, because this is really some slapdash stuff that's going to bite us in the ass later. If we switch this over to 2D cursor, and then we scale to x0, we can get that right back down to 0. And then we can export that. And then we can come back over here into the image and do the same thing with this guy. Move them to the right. That'll leave room for the shoulder, which is what we need to do. There we are. It should sharpen up in a minute here. There we go. Alright, so now it's a little bit more reasonable. I think that I'm sort of just half-assing the road here, but let's go ahead and duplicate it. Copy, paste, drag. No, that's not the right direction. Drag, there we are. So one of the things I really like about Unreal is it has a really simple grid system. And it says it's on. I think it needs to be at like 100 instead. There we are. So we can just kind of snap these things together like this. But the challenge here is that, as you can see, if it's flat and the ground underneath it is not flat, what happens to the road? Well, it changes. It moves in awkward ways. And then if we decide we're going to tilt the road, even if we turn off the detail snapping for this, we're going to end up creating these situations where the road has a break. And this is one of the reasons why road construction has always been such a challenge. One of the things you can do is you can set the edge of the road right at this. But you'll still have clipping problems right here. So just to show you that, we'll go over into Blender and we'll do exactly that. So if we move that to there and hit save, and then we export it. So you can see that that moved them in the wrong direction, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and delete this bad boy. And just grab this bad boy. And copy and paste. So if we bring this, there we are. Bring this over to here. You can see how we definitely have to go downhill. I can't get this thing to go up and down very easily. The camera is, I'm too used to Unity's camera. This camera is actually backwards from Unity. Why is it? Look, so if I middle click here and pull, it goes the wrong way. I think that in the last computer I had, I flipped that around and told it to fucking stop that because it's nonsense. Let's see here. Level editor. Controls. Use WASD only when so I'll just click there. Landscape control, ignore control key, foliage, orthographic view, invert right mouse dolly y-axis, invert middle mouse pan. There we are. I might have to come back here to invert some of the others as well. That's better, because when you middle click on something and then you move the world right, the world should go right. I'm not sure why anybody would assume it's the other way around, but no, it takes all sorts. I'm still going to have a hard time going up and down, though. There doesn't appear to be a button dedicated for going up and down. It's okay. Now that we're no longer panning the wrong direction, I should be able to figure it out. Anyway, oh, you know why they didn't want us to use... You know why that was set to only... Okay, so hold on, I gotta go back in. The reason that was set to only use those when right-clicking is pretty obvious now that I've actually done it. It's because you use those same buttons for switching modes, and it was like, what are you doing? Anyway, if we want to pan this down, you can see that we can pan it from this edge, and we can get some pretty good responsiveness. There is a little bit of a cut here, and that's because we are not actually at 0, 0, 0. But if we move it, you can see that we can get something that almost works. There is a noticeable crease here. And it is literally impossible to not have this crease because it is where the two mesh runoffs end up running off together. So the only real way to do this is if you mask this element. One way to mask that element is to not have it and then to be using rubble instead. Another way is to bring this road down so that that there isn't any significant amount of overlap there. So, we would do it like this. But the problem is that the closer to 0 you bring the road, the more challenging it is to make it so that it doesn't have world-related problems. This is why most roads are flat or are very, very specific scales. Another thing is I don't know how to do vertex snapping. Unreal vertex snapping. How to snap. V plus V. I just tried V. It didn't do jack. I mean, it's doing something. I don't know what, though. It's not snapping a vert that I want. I should just be able to click on a vertex and have that vertex... To me, it looks like V is making it go into the camera, not up and not snap to something. So if I hold V, you can see how we do get some blue highlighted elements. Presumably those are verts it's trying to snap to, but sure is doing a shit job. I never thought that Unity would be better at something than Unreal. But Unity lets me choose which vert I'd like to snap, which is a real bonus and stuff like this. Anyway, the point here is that we can't easily change the slope of roads. It's just not something we can easily do. But what we can do is we can create a rubble element for our roads. So what we'll do here is we'll duplicate this road. We'll move the other one out of the way a little bit. And we're going to call this one Road S1 Rubble. And to create rubble, all we need to do is shatter the edge into a bunch of pieces. And shatter is one of the plugins that doesn't start as turned on, but obviously should be. So yeah, why can't I search? What's going on here? Yes, add-ons. There's the problem. I was already searching. All right. So, what's it called? It's called Cellular Break Cell Fracture. I can never remember the name of it because it's a terrible name. And we'll go ahead and save that as enabled. And we should just be able to tell this to Cell Fracture. I don't remember how to tell it to Cell Fracture. I think it's like F13 or something. What would it be? No. F3. Of course, F3. That makes perfect sense. So here we can see the options we have for the cell fracturing, and we can just hit OK. And it'll what that didn't do any cell fracturing. You call that a cell fracture? You jerks. That's just a bunch of perfectly square pieces of rubble. There's no fracturing going on there. Did I do something wrong? Let's try it again. Okay, so for some reason it's fracturing along extremely straight lines. Why would it do that? You see how there's one piece that's fractured like you would actually expect something to fracture, and everything else is perfectly square. Why? Is this scaled? Is that what the problem is? No, it's not scaled. So why is it being annoying? This usually just works, so I've never had to look into... Oh, there we are. I needed to add some noise. So there we are. We went ahead and fractured it into cell elements. These are much better than they were before. We do have some problems because we don't actually want these cells to be fractured in this way. We need to be able to connect to the road, and that means that the cells near 0 need to be more intact. We're just going to go ahead and try it one more time because I can recombine them, but if all of the cool noise is there, there's no reason to do it there. We'll just increase the noise a little bit more here. That's a little bit better. But once again, it's like this is not really a very aggressive cell fracture. So what does a source limit mean exactly? Huh. Okay, I see. So these are getting the recursive parts. and the rest isn't. All right, so this is going to be fine. What we'll do is we'll recombine a lot of these elements. So first things first, let's grab the original and move it off to the side. Don't need it for now. And you can see that we've taken a lot of UV damage. I'm not sure why. Why would the UVs have been this badly disrupted? Shouldn't matter. But still, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Whatever. Well, actually, if the UVs have been disrupted, then we can't do it like this. Because if I recombine them, but they've been damaged, then there's no good. Can't happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a cut here. And then we will send this part punch it out. And then we're going to close this, because if we don't close it, our cells are going to malfunction. We don't want that. Okay, I'm just taking a look at what sort of setup we've got here, and I think we should just do it like that. That's fine. So now let's go ahead and do a cell fracture here. And we'll just put in another layer of recursion. Why not? Cursor close. Really? Let's try that. Oh, that's much better. So the cursor is over there. Okay, so that's the problem. All right, so hold on. Let's undo all of these changes. Woohoo! Everybody loves to watch me do something and then undo it. That is the nature of game dev. All right, so using the cursor far option, we can just kind of break it up when we're further away instead of when we're close. And that should give us some, yeah, that gives us some freedom here. So now what we've got is a couple of these pieces that are a little bit rough. They're not quite right. But we should be able to make them work. So if we were to grab all of these edge pieces, there we go, and we can just join them together, that'll create our edge element. But you can see that there's some damage here. Let's go ahead and do it one more time. We really need to get a version of this that doesn't have damage right at the tip like that. I'm trying to see if there's any option to not screw up the UVs. Well, that one didn't screw up the UVs too badly, so we'll take it. No, it actually... Well, it doesn't matter. We can always work on it more later. But we'll just join these together, make that into one object, and then the rest of these, oh, I see. It's one big chunk here. Let's go ahead and break that up. We will turn off the recursion. There we go. And we should be able to just adjust this. What is this? Why is this here? Huh. I'll just delete some of these pieces that we don't need. We should be able to just adjust these, and the easiest way to do that is to grab one of them, turn on random, and move it. Oh, we're still doing... And we're going to delete these big chunks here. And these chunks that are kind of at the edge. Basically, we just want some cute chunks for the final elements here. So more or less. We're just going to go ahead and put that straight into Unreal and see whether or not that seems like it'll work. Oh, I forgot to export it. Yeah, give me that. Give it all. There we are. So now that we've got some rubble, we should just be able to, well, let's go ahead and turn on grid editing here. Well, it's not really snapping anymore. If we hold V, nothing happens. Interesting. So when I hold V, the sky pops up like it's going to snap to the sky, which obviously it's not. Let's go ahead and see if I can arrange this to suck a little bit less. I'm not sure why that was scaled at all. That's kind of weird. And then we're going to want to put this, so we're just going to copy the location and paste it. Normally, I've had much better luck with editing these tools, with editing the game world. They tend to just pop together perfectly. But in this case, it's really misbehaving. Oh, you know what? The center is in the wrong spot, isn't it? Yeah, it's over there. So that was the reason. Just apply that location, scale, and rotation. And then we'll export it one more time. There we go. Yeah, it's floating for some reason. It really shouldn't be doing that. Oh, when I undid this, it also undid the rotation. I'm not sure why. That should be an exact edge. Why isn't it an exact edge? Oh, did I move the... I bet I did. Okay. So I accidentally moved these pieces. And that's not a big deal because I can just switch over to 3D cursor. And then I can simply scale Y0 them. And that'll bring them down to a perfect edge. There we go. But we still have an obvious crease. We'll deal with that later. You know, I'll have to figure out what I want. But if we back these up like this, and then we sort of trying to figure out how I should make the roads feel, because it's supposed to be a racing game with mechs. Now, right now, we're running around as a dude. Oh, okay, so this didn't work. The cellular fracture didn't maintain solid edges. That's no good. Well, we can go back in and try and figure out what the heck's up with that later. I might have to just manually break up the roads or something. I'll figure it out. I think that... I don't know. Also, we're going to need to have the rubble fall off much faster. It's a little too tall here. But one of the other things we need to test is how we're going to look in a mech. So to do that, Pink Air says, feeling a certain sense of unreality here suddenly. Yeah, I lost all of my data. So I no longer have the diving game to function to continue to work on. So I thought I was going to switch over to Unreal after the diving game. But now is considered to be after the diving game. So here we are in Unreal. I wanted to put the diving game out, but instead I'm putting it down. I mean, maybe I can recover it. If I recover it, if the hard drives come back, then I might continue to develop it. But I need to learn Unreal anyway, so here I am. Actually, most of this has been me learning Blender, but that's not the point. The point is we have a dude here, and oh, that's not what I wanted. I just want the dude. Dude, where are you, dude? Dude. 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 So right now the dude is scaled at 111, which means he's incredibly tall. For some reason, the Unreal presumes that the default human eye line should be at 2 meters. That's like someone who's 2.2 meters tall. There's not a whole lot of that. So a lot of Unreal games feature basketball players. But we can also adjust the scale however we want. And in this case, what we want is to be mech-sized, which is even bigger than the default scale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move us over to the road and make it so that we're sized compared to this car. And that will allow us to sort of get a feeling for how it feels to be big. Just like that old movie, except for we didn't have to make a wish on an ancient machine. Only issue now is that the camera is pointed at it a little bit close. So that's fine. We can fix that. So I think we can select the camera as a separate object. No? Do we have to go in and change it? Okay, so here is our character. Here's the camera boom. What I'd like to do is... set the camera boom up to be a longer range. I think that I can do that just by changing the camera boom's offset. Oh, that's the vertical offset. We also need to change that. So the follow camera is set up to be... I don't see any sign of a specific... I'm not sure why the camera is floating this specific amount back from us. It's not a size that seems to be defined anywhere. See, there's no offset location here. Oh, here it is. Target arm length. Obviously, what we would want is a much slower animation. We'll get there. We'll work on it. This is obviously all just defaults. I never really thought about it, but this looks exactly like the back of a stormtrooper. I guess that makes some sense. The only issue is we can't really see our feet right now. We might have to change the camera eventually to allow us to see our feet. But this is the sort of thing we're looking to do. We're looking to be a stompy mech. We'll model up a mech, but I'm going to have to decide how I want the mechs to look first. I think I'm going to have them be modular. There's no reason not to. The road here is crap. Let's go ahead and see whether or not we can make a better road. Pinker says, Attack of the 50-foot gray box. Al Wyvern says, finally getting away from Unity. Yep. Pinker says, I kind of like to, but I need a new computer to make use of Unreal's tools. Well, good news, I have a new computer. Good in quotes. Right now, Alan says, chicken leg mech. Well, right now, we're still using the animations for a sprinting fridge of a man rather than a mech. I'm going to have to learn how to create animations in a format that Unreal will like. Until then, we'll stick with chicken mech. But first, let's get this to work, because this turned out rubbish. It's a rubbish rebel. So here is the road again, and I think what we're going to do is a little bit of super basic cutting. So if we do it like that, then we should be able to cut across the bottom as well. That didn't cut across the bottom. Oh, come on. There we are. And then we can just take this part, punch it out to its own thing. Here it is. Now, in order to get an actual fracture quality that doesn't suck, we're going to have to add in some faces. There we go. This side will also have to add in some faces, but we'll do that at the end. So with that in mind, this part should be nice and crisp, and we should be able to cell fracture this part. So let's try it. Boom, cell fracture. Set that up with some recursion, use cursor far. We'll just add in some more noise. And okay, ciao. So now we've got some cell fractures that don't suck quite as much, but the question is whether or not these cell fractures have interiors. So it looks like they do. Maybe I just had bad luck the first time. Anyway, what we're going to want to do with these cell fractures is select them all. And then, oh wait, I can't. God damn it. So we're going to want to undo that. Because I forgot that Blender does not allow you to do multiple editing. You can't edit multiple things at the same time because Blender's great. So we're going to just add in a bevel here. There we go. And punch up the bevel to, I guess that's fine. Anyway, now we should be able to punch it out. Okay, so we definitely have some damage here. You can see how some of these pieces really, really died. It might be because of the bevel, actually. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, the bevel should create some... I didn't keep the bevel. Okay, so that was a useless waste of everybody's time. All right. I thought it would keep the modifiers, but I think it applied the modifier, which is not what I want. All right, fine. We'll do it your way. All right, so failing is only useless if you don't learn something from it. Well, one of my reasons that I don't really get that upset at things like losing data and all that jazz is simply because I always learn a lot, and then by the time something horrible goes wrong and I lose all my data, it's like I've learned so much that whatever I was doing was no longer up to snuff anyway. And that's definitely the case. I was enjoying making the diving game, but I was making it in a dying engine, and I wasn't really enjoying it as much as I could have been. So time to make the jump anyway. So what I really want is a really aggressive bevel. But I'm not getting it. That's interesting. Well, apparently I can't just say bevel them. It doesn't work. We'll have to do it manually. No biggie. So what we're going to do is we're going to just turn back on that random noise feature, and we're going to start to move some stuff around. Pink Air says having streamed the entire dev process means you lost a lot less of the valuable process. Yeah, you could say that. I don't feel like I would have learned just as much doing it on my own, but I wouldn't have been able to. Streaming has value, so it's something where I definitely don't disagree. I just think that I wouldn't want to say that I'm going to go back and watch those streams. I think that they're part of the process, but they're also done. They've done their job. Anybody who wants to watch them can. I won't be one of those people. So we've got a few of these that are definitely damaged. Actually, it looks like they're not damaged. They're just shaped funny. Yeah, that's fine. I was expecting some more invisible interiors. It might be that there aren't any invisible interiors in Blender, but they become invisible when they're in Unreal. That might be what happens. Either way, the next step is to bring some of these down. So we just... So the cell fracture in Blender is a little bit of a mystery to me. I can't tell you their process. I didn't see any options to do that. But this is all like really, really sharp fractures that don't really feel very natural. What I really want to do is soften these bad boys up. Can I do a subsurface? Is that better? It might be a little too soft. Well, let's try it. So if I select all of these and then select this guy, am I going to be able to have an option to apply? See, I thought there was some kind of way to tell it that this is a universal element. Yeah, see, there should be a copy to selected option. There is not. Yeah, Al Wyvern says, I want some edge crumble. He's right. Pinker says he could tell me how to do it in Lightwave or Houdini. Yeah, I mean, I could pick up Houdini, I suppose. For right now, my problem is simply that Blender doesn't allow me to edit multiple things at the same time. But what I can do is I can just join everything together. So, yeah, that'll work. Now, for this guy here, we're going to want to fill in this edge. And we're going to want to go ahead and bevel it. Yeah, I don't want to fucking change my language because I hit shift. God damn it. Hold on. Between input languages, never, ever. Sorry, this is a new Windows, and obviously that means it's reverted back to the quote-unquote helpful defaults. So if we apply a subsurface here, and then we turn it to simple, you can see we've got a lot of density, and I want that because we can pull that density out to create a little bit of raggedness. Al says, how close are players going to get to this piece of tarmac? Well, I mean, they're going to walk on it, but their cameras are going to be at mech head height. Obviously, we're just kind of playing around at this point to try and figure out what might or might not work. So I'm not terribly concerned about making it realistic yet. I imagine I'll probably have to do some better sculpting later on. In fact, sculpting might be the answer. If we go over into sculpt mode, for example, we can hit it with a soften brush. Is this soften? I think that's soften, yeah. And that'll just smooth out some of those pieces there. And if we come over to this brush, hold on. You just hit this brush with the soften too. Oh, come on, why can't I? Oh, there it is. Whoa, that did some... Okay, so the first thing we got to do before we soften anything is to merge all those edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to merge, and then we're going to merge by distance. We're also going to want to have a... we'll deal with that later. Boom. So with that in mind, the subdivision no longer makes any sense. It now looks... they've been too smoothed. If we do it like that, we keep some of the corners. That might be okay. Let's try it. So we're going to go ahead and apply this, and then we'll plug it straight back into this guy. Pow! Hit save. Okay, well, let's give it a shot. This is obviously garbage. Let that go away. And this should re-import. Oh, I forgot to export it. I think I'm actually exporting all of the objects every time, which isn't what I intend to do, but whatever. It's all good. Whatever happened to the snapping? I mean, last time I did some level editing, it would automatically snap to the grid, and I do have grid snapping turned on. You can see it right here. But it's not friggin' snapping. What happened? Why are you being so annoying all of a sudden? Well, I don't know enough about Unreal to tell myself what's going on there. I'll just assume that I have to work it out. Paste. And then we'll just move this forward. And now it's snapping. Let's see how that feels. Nope, it's crap. So you can get sort of the idea of what I'm going for, but I've obviously completely borked it, and it's just awful. Again. Let's try it one more time. So I'm trying to think about how to do this. I think we'll just go for broke here. Oh, that's a lot more recursion than I thought there would be. If I grab all of these and then select, well, let's not grab the actual core piece. If I grab all of these and then select from 3D cursor, and can I scale randomly? See how it's not affecting the other pieces? See, I can move them, and that'll move them. But scaling them won't scale them. That's interesting. I don't really know what's up with that. I want to break this up just a little bit. There we go. And then what I'll do is I'll select this whole mess, except these first three. Deselect. Thank you. And I'll just turn this off and do a Control-Alt-Shift-S, Y. Ah, there we are. And I'll be able to move them down. And I mean, that's not going to be great, but it's going to be better than what I had before. Except I just... No, wait, that was correct. So then we'll just join them all together. Pow! Apply location, rotation, scale. And we'll just call this Rebel A again. Oh, we already have a Rebel A. Do we? Where's our Rebel A? We do not have a Rebel A. Blender is hallucinating, but that's okay. So this is now the wrong piece. Why don't we have... Oh, I forgot to export it. Didn't I? That's interesting. Oh, it's because it's not based on the original object. It's a clone. Let's see if I can figure out what's going on with the... Is it this? No, it's still not snapping. It's... Is it this? But this should, like, change the... That's definitely not helping. What is this? Why isn't it snapping anymore? It used to snap all the fucking time. Oh well. Well, I mean, we got some really terrible stuff going on here, but you can sort of see how it's going to work, and that's good enough for now. When you have to learn Unreal, but you also have to learn basic Blender abilities, because clearly we do not know even the most trivial things that Blender can do. It might make more sense for us to not bake this into the road, but instead have like rubble bits as separate objects that we can drop in which case we would just have this road drop off into the ground, and then we would have rubble objects as a separate element. So we didn't really get anything done today, but I don't have any more time, and I don't have any more voice. I've got to record a work video today, and I don't really think I can do it if I keep talking here. I just didn't want to leave you hanging for 2 weeks. So long story short, no more diving game. It's gone, and I can't fix that. Pinker says you could bake the rubble into a texture in Blender and use it as a decal. I don't know how to do decals. Not really sure. It's certainly worth thinking about. I'll have to consider what I would like out of this. And Al's like, it's gone? Yeah. So my computer really died. Like it totally destroyed itself. And as far as I can tell, that includes the hard drives. I have to get some specialty screwdrivers to get the hard drives out, though. So I won't know for sure for a while. So now I'm running with a new computer. It's the first time I've gotten a liquid-cooled computer. So I am interested to know how good that is. I accidentally left my fan on, so my room fan. So you're definitely hearing a fan right now, but you're actually hearing a room fan. My computer is quite quiet now. But the box it came in is huge. This computer's tower is large enough that I can fit the old computer in side by side with itself, and then also put in 2 or 3 loaves of bread on top. It's large enough that I could put my monitor in front of the box and still be able to see the box around all the edges of my monitor. And most of that's empty space, so it's fine. Yep, except this is water cooled, so I don't think it needs very much airflow space. Either way, the box, I'm not too concerned about the size of the box. I'd much rather have a much too large box that I can actually, reach in and plug shit in, rather than this cramped piece of crap that I had before, where I have to literally buy new screwdrivers just to get the hard drives out. Yeah. And I had someone else put it together for me, so it was very low hassle. Either way, I gotta stop talking now. So I will see you folks on Saturday, assuming I remember. We'll probably just keep doing roads for a while, because I have a feeling that's kind of something basic that would be the same in every engine. But I really want to know how to get the snapping to turn back on, because when I was doing the interiors, it was automatically snapping all of my interior walls perfectly. And now it's just refusing to. Don't know. Oh well, have a good one, everybody.